Hi, welcome back everybody. This is another video from the series of Circle of Being Somatic Shadow Work toolbox of practices. And if this is the first one you see, there's a whole playlist where I'm sharing practical information that is meant to support applying the work in order to boost your healing, to boost your meditation practice, to support your awakening. And they are shorter videos. And this one is this is the purpose of this tool and of this knowledge is to ensure continuity of evolution. So what I mean by that is that and I've seen this in various spiritual communities I was in, Fourth Way, Gurdjieff work, Buddhist, Zen communities, in Mankind Project, shadow work communities, as well as in working with clients in a clinical practice. So I have seen this phenomena many, many times. And the phenomena is that me as a practitioner or as a client or other people, we are becoming excited about the work and we are getting inspired and we are finding some tools and we're finding some knowledge, or we go to some groups or to some meditation retreats, or we go to a workshop, or anyway, we are getting deep into it, passionate about it. Things seem to be unfolding well. There seem to be a growth or an opening or an expansion. And this takes this like, so we are on this wave of success, so to say. Things like, oh, finally things are brightening up, and indeed there's some shift and some changes. But somehow, sooner or later, after a few weeks or a few months, things start to kind of slow down, and the initial enthusiasm, the initial breakthroughs, they start to seemingly diminish. The very interest in the same practices and the same events starts to wane. Suddenly we have things like, man, I don't think I'm going to practice today, or maybe I'd rather do something else. So somehow it's almost like this ascending evolutionary trajectory. It starts to reach a lull, and then it goes kind of into an impasse, into an interval somehow, and things seem to stall. Yeah, so I have seen this many, many times with myself as well as many other people, both in the context of being a spiritual community as well as being in the context of clinical practice. And so what I want to say about that is that this is natural. Actually, this is a natural law. Uh, this tool that I'm going to share today is meant to take into account this natural diminishing of our enthusiasm, and this natural slowing down, or seemingly our engine stalling. So it takes this into account, and there are certain things that if we know about them, we can apply them, and in this way we give ourselves like a conscious boost to continue work and reactivate the engines and continue in the same direction. Yeah. So if we don't know about these things, and if we are not aware of this, somehow we deviate. We deviate from the initial growthful ascending slope, so to say. And that's a pity. And so this knowledge that I'm sharing, I want to give credit. This is from the Fourth Way tradition and from Gurdjieff. But what I like about the Fourth Way tradition and the Gurdjieff teaching is that I have noticed that it applies across paths. It's like a universal it presents certain universal principles that apply for all paths, whether we are on a Buddhist meditative path, or whether we are on a Zen or fourth way, or we are doing shadow work or somatic processing, or working with a therapist, working with a non-dual teacher. So, to get practical about it, in the fourth way, the way to overcome this natural law of kind of falling asleep or slowing down our progress or deviating, it's called to have 3 lines of work. 3 lines of work. So what I mean by that? So the idea is that it's like there can be three types of conscious effort we can apply ourselves towards, and these are like, each one of them is like an engine of an airplane or a piston in a car. So if we have just one, then this one sooner or later will stall, slow down, deviate, and we even forget about the initial direction. If we have two, now even if one engine slows down and stops and stalls, then the other engine kicks in, and then we continue the direction. However, in the fourth way, they were saying that even just these 2 lines, they are not enough, because at some point both of them may stall, so it is optimal to ensure continuity of direction, continuity of direction towards our conscious goal, whether that is healing from trauma, uh, processing our pain body, awakening to our true nature, however we call it. It's we all want inner peace, harmony within, harmony without, causeless happiness, okayness. So it is necessary to, first of all, be aware that this process of stalling will happen. It's unavoidable. It's not because we are bad or we are lazy, or it's just a universal law. I'm not going to go into it, but for those who are interested, this is connected to the law of 7, law of octaves. Just like in the musical notes, there is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. And for those of us who are more musically inclined, we know that between mi and fa, there is an interval where the things stall, and there's like a gap. And between si and do, there is another interval. So the idea is that this law applies in actual all nature, in music, and everything else, but I am going to stay focused for the purpose of this video about using this law in order to ensure continuity of direction. So the idea is to ensure for ourselves 3 lines of work, 3 engines. In case one stalls, which it will, we get kind of boosted from the other one, and then boosted from the other one. So practically speaking, let me tell you about these 3 lines of work. First line of work, which is considered to be the most important, the most powerful engine. The first line of work is working with myself, self-work, doing my own work, which with myself, by myself, on my own. Yeah. So how this first line of work, how would it look like? It would look like watching this video, or watching, Eckhart Tolle on YouTube, or reading a spiritual book, and applying whatever we hear in that book or video, trying to make it our own. Any effort of, practicing mindfulness, practicing zazen, meditation, any practice, self-practice, practice of processing our pain body, somatic processing. Some of us are into killer bee inquiries, so having a practice of using the inquiries to undo repression or to bring the deficiency story to awareness. All of this is first line. Yoga, especially if we do yoga or qigong or tai chi, not just for well-being, but as part of our integrative spiritual practice, walking meditation, journaling. So anything to do with working with myself by myself. Yeah, this is the first line. Yeah, and without which nothing happens. So that's the holy first line. All right. Second line. Second line is working with others. Working with others that are like-minded, have the similar goals, in the same spiritual path, or so. So basically, the second line is that there are several people, or I have a good friend who is also interested in processing my trauma, and or awakening or embodiment, and then basically I meet with this person, and sometimes we share about our discoveries, we share about what happened. Maybe we work with each other, we facilitate each other, we are vulnerable, we are making small goals together, we are helping each other, reminding each other of the work. So this is second line. This is not just hanging out with people and having a good time. This is hanging out with people in the work. And it is focused around our common goal. And and that is a good time, and that is fun, and hanging out. And it's no problem with hanging out and having a good time. But basically, it is about our conscious evolution, the hanging out. Some more example of a second line is like, going to a meeting. Like some of us in KI, Killer Bean Inquiries, we are going to meetings with Scott, or meeting with another facilitator, or the small group, or you are going to I'm hosting Circle of Being shadow work groups, going to a circle. That's an example of second line. Where you hear about people sharing, and then you share, and this inspires me, this brings me more insights. The idea is that from the fourth way, we can't, with very few exceptions to the point that we may say that they don't exist, it's very hard to see ourselves fully, our unconsciousness, our mechanicality, to see ourselves completely by ourselves. We have too many blind spots, we have too many resistances. So it helps to be with other people on a spiritual path, because it helps us to give us a nudge, like, hey dude, you are falling asleep, you are falling in this pattern. We give each other feedback, we give each other encouragement. So it helps us to see ourselves more fully, it helps us to get encouragement, it helps us to see that, if I'm just alone working on myself, we may get into some, in a swamp of like, man, I'm messed up, I'm never going to get over this, there's something wrong with me. But if you go into a honest, vulnerable, open spiritual group, spiritual community, or therapeutical community where people are real and they share, you will see that everybody has the same struggle. We are all in this together. Yeah. So this is the second line. Second line. It can take many forms. Even like monks chanting together, meditating together, just being in silence, meditating together. This is second line. Meditating alone, this is first line. Now, what's special about the second line is that it includes the first line. So I'm going to a group where we talk about presence, and we are trying to be present. We are talking about processing, and we are processing. There is this, the second line comes with the first line. And so what happens is that we leave that group or the circle, and we're like, man, that was good. It felt good. I have new inspiration for my work. Maybe I have a new goal. or I was touched by what somebody said and it helped me see something about myself, then now I'm going to get in there and explore more. So you see, the second line now boosted the first line. And now we have renewed juice and we continue. We continue the direction that otherwise, if I were just by myself, reading books, watching videos, meditating, you know, if we are honest with ourselves, we see we're kind of lose the initial direction. So even let's say, you know, going to a retreat where there's a teacher there or a guru, hopefully the guru is open and honest and authentic and real and awake, um, that helps. So being in the company of like-minded spiritual aspirants or a friend on the path, Rumi, you know, the dervish Sufi master, was saying that, yeah, spend your time in the company of those who remind you of your Lord, who not only speak wisdom, but are that. Yeah? So this is an example of second line. Also, if you have a therapist or you have a facilitator, uh, going to a therapist, this is an example of second line. There is some input now. And then you go back home and your engine is renewed. All right, so in the fourth way, they were saying that this is already a much better situation, but this can also stall. At some point, as we go deeper and deeper, we need more somehow. The third line, maybe we can get away without the third line for quite some time, but especially as we get more seasoned on the path and want to go all the way, whatever that means, all the way, it's necessary to have a third line. The third line of work includes the first and the second one and is connected to some type of service. Let's say in the monasteries, like the monks, we are going to take care of the garden, or they are going to serve the teacher, or they are going to help promote the teaching to make it available so that it's not secret, or some type of some kind of selfless service, either helping other people on the path or helping people that are struggling. Uh, at the same time, it is connected to applying our own understanding and applying the work as we are doing it. So it's some kind of giving back, some kind of selfless service where you're not paid. You're not paid. It's just offering, serving. Yeah. This can take the form of, what I'm doing now could be, say that it's third line, or teaching someone or sharing someone, something like that, or going out when it's cold in your little town in the foothills and maybe encouraging some homeless people or helping to cut some wood for somebody, or anyway, I think you guys got it. Selfless service. Uh, yeah. So in this way, if we have all of these three lines, although we are going to have these intervals in stalling of the engine, somehow it's practically impossible for all three lines of work, all the engines to stall at the same time. So when one stalls, the other one will boost it, the other one will boost it. So in this way, we keep going forward and not get distracted, deviated, and lazy, and fall asleep again. So yeah, also I have seen this many times with myself, and I've seen it with other people, even in clinical practice. Had some clients that they will come, will do a lot of good inner work. Then they start to have some practice on their own, and then we do some work. So there's some kind of big breakthroughs, and then part of therapy is to diminish therapy and to finish therapy. And So we'll take some space from each other, and then things were good. And then after about 2 3 months or less, the person comes to me, and I'm like, hey man, how's it going? And they're like, oh, it's not going well somehow. And they tell me, and they don't know what happened. They don't know, somehow they went back to some old patterns. They have mysterious malaise and all kind of other uh, inner turmoil or inner stagnation. And so I asked them, I tried to troubleshoot to see what's happening, and I noticed this many times. They were doing good because they had first line, second line, yeah. But at some point they were doing good, and they stopped actually. They even stopped first line. They stopped practicing. They stopped meditating. They stopped meeting with other like-minded people. So then life, with the inertia of life, pursuing comfort and easy pleasure and directionless, took over. So, so one practical way to do this is to remember to work to work on both all three lines, or at least two lines at the same time. This will ensure continuity. So keep going to some meditation group, or going to Mankind Project circle, or come to a Circle of Being, Shadow Work, or KI. Have some friends on the path. Have some friends on the path that will not just hang out and talk, chit chat, but share about the work, or have someone you co-facilitate or therapist. This will make a big difference, and it's not rocket science. And now we know that's what happened. And some of you are watching this, you verify that. All right, so I'll stop here, and may this boost your work and reach your inner peace, harmony, which is already within us, covered by various programs and conditions. Ciao.